Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Margo L. She's a femininity coach, a voice coach, and a fitness coach, among other things. Margo, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Very happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So, Margo, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that journey like to become a voice coach, femininity coach, a fitness coach, among other things that you do? What was that journey like for you?
What's interesting is it started with my parents.
Mhm.
I'll make a long story short. My parents were both in the entertainment industry. My mom used to sing with major groups in the 70s and 80s. She did a lot of studio work.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times she groomed me. I even went to sessions and shows with her, and I fell in love with the stage just by watching my mom. And so she told me to be good at anything. You have to be a complete package, which is why I named my company Complete Package Coaching. You can't just be good at one thing. You have to be well-rounded. And then my father was he was a policeman. He was also a bodybuilder, and he competed with some of the greats, even people who were, competing in Mr. Olympia. And he was about discipline. So between always being around, being on and on stage, and being disciplined, it's something that just followed me through life. And so in 1997, I started coaching. So I've been coaching for 26 years. I started as a voice and performance coach. And what I noticed was a lot of my clients needed to learn more than just how to sing, because
Okay.
we want to be on stage, and a lot of my clients are people who compete on American Idol, America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, Miss Black USA, things like that. I coach for major events as
Mhm.
well as smaller. I take clients big and small, if you want to take it that way. But I noticed that it's more than just the actual performance. You have to be a marketable package. And so a lot of the women in particular that I was coaching for voice, I'm like, they don't know how to walk. They don't know how to walk in
Mhm.
heels, or even how to carry themselves in a feminine manner. They were not able to sell the product. It's one thing to have a voice, but you have to be able to sell the performance. And so I added femininity coaching into um, my mix of offerings. Also, when you interview and you're interacting with people, you have to be likable. A lot of
Mhm.
women are not likable. And so it's going to turn people off. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if a person does not like you, if they cannot stand to work with you, they're going to pick someone less talented just for the ease of working with you.
Yeah.
And then all my friends would come to me for relationship advice. And I started noticing certain things. And I'm like, okay, this femininity coaching thing is something that is needed, especially in communities in melanated communities, I'll word it that way, where,
Okay.
a lot of us are not really taught the importance of these things due to different social things, cultural things, whatever it may be. And so, like, I wanted to bridge that gap to help people understand why they're not getting the results they want, even though they're doing everything right by what society tells us. And it's been a great journey, and I love it.
Well, that's some journey. I mean, you got music in there, voice in there, fitness in there, and I think I
Mhm.
also saw in your biography that you also did some real estate, like property management. So, talk
I
about that before we get to the topic at hand.
Absolutely. So for the past 20 years, I've been in professional property management as well, commercial as well as residential. That's something that I've had as a career too. So I do advise landlords when they have problems with managing their properties. A lot of people think, oh, I'm a landlord, I'm going to be a boss. You just got a baby. When you get tenants, you just got a family of babies. You got 300 units, you got 300 babies. Something always goes wrong. It's one of those things where people glamorize property management and being a landlord, and it is everything but glamorous. It is a job that you don't get to call off from. Something is needed, something always breaks.
Yeah.
Things always happen at the most inopportune time. So I do help people navigate that, especially people who are not used to being property owners or landlords.
Wow. So, I mean, is there such a thing as because you always hear a Renaissance man. So, are you like a Renaissance woman? I mean, you got the whole package.
Exactly. That's why it's called complete package. And it's the thing. It's my whole thing is I refuse to be broke. So I'm going to always have something. I have a relative that says people always need something I sell. So make sure that when you're marketing yourself, you always provide a service that people need. So I
Right.
provide 4 core services, but these are 4 things that people will always need. So say, for example, with the pandemic, a lot of services became, you found out who was really
Yeah.
important and who wasn't. Property management, I was essential. I had to go in all the time. And it was like, wow, this is one of those situation proof jobs. People will always need a place to live.
Yeah.
And then also people really their relationships were tested. When you're locked in a house with somebody for a long period of time, you really get to see who this person is because they don't get to leave and come back. And so a
Right.
lot of relationships started failing. And there was an uptick in domestic violence. If a lot of police reports say that there's a lot more domestic violence that took place during the pandemic. And I know some people who were involved in some of that. And I realized that a lot of times it could have been prevented if
Yeah.
people would have just maintained their role, if you will. And so after the
Yeah.
pandemic, it's actually when my femininity coaching really spiked too, because people are like, "What am I supposed to do? I'm not supposed to."
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. And so and that leads to the topic at hand, why femininity is important. Margo, I mean, going through your coaching and I'm pretty sure your other speaking engagements, which we'll get to later, has femininity died down for a majority of women, some women, a lot of women? Because it seems, a lot of women want to be boss babes. And maybe some guys can't handle that term, boss babe, because it means they want to be independent, the woman from the man. They want to do their own career, which is to me, I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me one bit. But has femininity lost its edge to the boss babe? If my question made any sense at all?
It makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting. You mentioned this one word um, about people aren't able to handle things.
Right.
And I've actually lost a lot of friends for explaining this to people because a lot of times people have this thing called confirmation bias, where you ask someone for advice or you want to seek information, but you're really looking for something to confirm what you already believe or feel,
Mm.
which means you're not really looking to make changes if a better idea is presented. So a lot of society, especially women, we suffer from confirmation bias.
Bias.
And so the whole thing about boss babes, that whole mentality is fine if you don't want a man. The whole word, independent. Independent means stand alone. So if you want to stand alone, fine, do you. Be all of that. Be the biggest boss. But the word handle, you mentioned about handle. Animals are handled. You handle animals.
Right.
When you think
Right.
about anything, when you look at the Westminster Dog Show or other places, they first, oh, who's the handler? When you have, for example, in property management, you have emotional support or service animals. On the documentation, it'll often say handler. You handle animals.
Mm.
You manage people. So anybody who says they
Mm.
can't be handled is likening themselves to an animal, which is a red
Wow.
flag.
And
So
I
when you
because
think
I've
about it,
seen that. Yeah, sorry, Morgan. And I've seen some women where they're on interview shows. They say, "Oh yeah, I want a man that can handle me." Or is it
mhm,
possible that a man can handle me? And I remember I saw one episode where the guy says, "Well, why do I need to handle you if
mhm,
I'm, on in the world busting my butt for 8, 10, 12, 15 hours and all that? The last thing I want to do is handle my girlfriend or my
exactly.
wife or whatever." So talk a little bit more about that because that's an interesting topic in itself.
Yeah.
Handle.
Yes. And let's think about it. Most of us have had pets or know people with pets.
Right.
I love animals. When you're
Right.
handling this, the first thing is handling shows that there's a lack of control. If you have to handle something, that means you can't control it. It has lack of control. And there's so much there's a lot of oxymoronic speech when we say that I'm in control, I'm a boss, but I have to be handled. So you're saying that you're in control, but yet you're out of control because you have to be handled. Which one is it? So it's like you're counterintuitive to that. And you people also want to be treated with respect. But then again, women don't like to be called the B word. But
Yeah.
you handle dogs, female dogs. What are dogs B words? So you're saying yourself that you're a B word because you got to be handled. So make it make sense.
Mm.
And I hate to put it that way, but this is truly how this works. Women don't understand a lot of times that men think in logic, we think in emotion.
Right.
If we are only going to be treated the way that we're presenting, that's all anybody can do. So if we're presenting ourselves like this wild animal, yeah, she's a B word. What'd she get mad for? She said it herself. I gotta be handled. And then we get mad, not realizing the subconscious effects that we're putting out there for the very men we say we want, we're turning them away by being wild animals.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can be managed because you're managed people, then it's like, okay, the man can now understand I'm going to have to guide her a little bit, but she's not going to run off the street chasing after a squirrel up a tree and embarrass me, like something that needs to be handled like a B word.
But the thing is, though, Margo, is it? Are you seeing again, from my point of view of checking out the podcast and even talking to some of my female friends that are in their 20s?
Mhm.
Um, they want to be, and yes, you should have a job as a woman, you know, protect yourself financially. I got no problem with that at all. You know,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen in a divorce or a relationship.
Mhm.
But if you if you're showing a lack of femininity,
Mhm.
right? You want to be not only controlling in your own career or at your job, whatever it may be, but now you're coming home and the man, and you, I'm pretty sure you've been through this with your clients and all that. When a guy comes home, he just wants his woman to be a feminine, peace, just, you know, hey, this is this day was stressful. Let's talk about it. Whatever that may be. Is that losing its focus now on both sexes trying to compete with each other, who's going to be the biggest boss, or for lack of a better word, who's going to have the biggest balls?
Mhm.
Sorry about
Exactly.
that. I didn't
No,
mind
no.
to
Look,
get
I
vulgar.
don't offend easily. I don't offend easily at all. I try
Yeah,
not to be offensive because
right.
but yes, I think it has because a lot of people confuse femininity with feminism, which are
Mm,
and so a lot of people, and that's where I think a lot of it got minced with words. Um and in the grand scheme of things, there's been four waves of the feminist movement, but the most recent one has honestly just become, in my opinion, as a whole, masculinity
yeah,
in a lot of ways for women. This is not everyone, I don't want to offend anyone. I'm not speaking of everyone, but what I see portrayed a lot is people masking femininity with undertones of feminism.
right.
And at the beginning, it had a good idea of, women just really did want to get out of certain substandard positions. But now women have so many rights, resources, and double standards. It is not even funny. Women can go and say things and do things and get away with it. A man says hi to you. Next thing you know, he's in court for sexual harassment. And it's
Yeah,
like, seriously, yeah, it's a bit out of control. And the whole thing about a man coming home, men need a soft place to land, especially if we have a lot of expectations on men. We expect them. Men have three roles in our lives: um, protector, provider, and priest. The
mm,
three P's.
right.
We expect men to protect us. As women, we are physically weaker than men. It's biologically, that's just how science is. It's how nature works. Women are smaller, typically. In mammals, the female is usually smaller than the
Right.
male of any apples to apple species. That's how it is in humans as well, by us being mammals. Men the male protects the females of the species, which basically means you are physically inferior to this person, which means you should not challenge this person.
Right.
It's just like in boxing. You have to be in the same class to fight. You're not going to put a welterweight with the heavyweight.
Heavyweight.
You're
Yeah,
not
I was
going to
gonna.
put,
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
yeah. So it's one of those things. So then why is the featherweight trying to challenge the heavyweight champion of the world?
Yeah.
And women, we do this all the time, realizing that we are at a disadvantage. And then we get upset when he fights back.
Right.
You started it. He came home. Men deal with a lot out in the streets. They're expected to provide. They're expected to protect. They're expected to direct, which is the preacher part.
Yeah.
And then he
Talk more
doesn't want
about
to.
that. About the preacher part. I like that.
Yeah. And so preaching. So when you accept, when you're in a relationship with someone, the man leads the house, regardless of who has the stronger financial position, because that
Mhm.
money can be here today, gone tomorrow. A job is a job is a job. Your job does not supersede your role as a wife.
Mm,
When you agree to be in a relationship with somebody, you all are one. It's all for one and one for all. There are going to be times when one party is going to have to do more than the other in certain areas. And you
yeah.
got to be ready for that. That's what a support system is.
Yeah.
Anybody who's willing to bail because their man fell upon hard times. And my mom puts it this way: you would never penalize a person who's trying. If you see
Mm,
this person is trying, even though they may not be getting the results we want, they're actively trying. The last thing you want to do is kick somebody while they're down. And so many women do this. We would disrespect our men. You don't have any money anyway. Why should I listen to you? And the whole thing about being the priest, that man directs that household. There's a hierarchy. We women fall third in that hierarchy. The man comes first, followed by his purpose, followed by us. And we have
mm,
to understand that, because what attracted us to that man in the first place is him and his purpose. He was on a purpose, and that's what attracts us. So we
Right.
can't expect him to go changing the very thing that bagged us in the first place because we feel some type of way about it. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
We are coming into his situation like that. And so he is our priest. We clearly trusted him enough, and trusted with his thing to attract us. So we have to trust his guidance. If he says, I don't want you going out late at night because it's a lot of crime going on and it's dark outside, I want you to stay in tonight. I'm staying my butt in. I've been married 15 years, just for reference.
Yeah.
And I've started getting better results once I learned to rest in my feminine energy. There is a bit of an age differential between us, and he's a little bit older than me. And when he met me, I need a little bit of handling, if that makes sense.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
I was young, I was headstrong, I was all about girl power, boss. I was all of those things. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm not speaking from a lack of experience. I used to be one of these people, and
Yeah.
it got me nowhere I wanted to be. The moment I started understanding the natural order of things and resting in my feminine and allowing him to be my priest, allowing him to be my provider, my protector, I get treated better. I get better results. My life is so happy now that I learned to stand down when I
Yeah.
stopped needing to be handled and I allowed myself to be managed.
I like that. I like that term, manage. And I see these days now, especially with the younger women, um, triggering words where
Mhm.
women can have standards, but if a man has a standard, which you touched on a little earlier, it's looked upon as stupid, um, misogynistic, insecure, these trigger words, small dick energy, all these triggering words that women are using against certain men that have standards.
Mhm.
um can you talk a little bit more about that? Because it's amazing compared to when I was their age. None of these words were around there in the 80s and
Mhm.
90s. Everything was just, I mean, even the word femininity, I hardly ever heard that word back in the day. Now it's all over the
You
place.
didn't need to have that word back in the day because women understood where we stood. We knew
Yeah,
our place. There is a such thing as knowing your place, and it's nothing to do with a big me, little you. Everybody plays their role. The
right.
kidney can't do what the heart does. The lungs can't do what the mouth does.
Yeah,
Everybody has this role in its place, and you got to be good with that to
right.
make the body function. But oh my goodness, and the whole thing about the big dick energy. Women who say that clearly have one because they're in their masculine energy. So why do you care if the man has a little one? You clearly got enough for everybody. So why do
Yeah,
people?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I've been hearing in a lot of
Mhm.
these podcasts and even in interview shows, you hear those words, those triggering words that women throw out at men. If God forbid if a man body shames a woman, but a woman can body shame a man all she wants, and
Mhm.
it goes in one ear and out the other because you
Yes.
can't say anything.
And that's what I'm saying, that whole double standard. Body shaming. Men really don't body shame women. Men make recommendations to improve upon women's lives. And I learned this from experience as well. The whole thing, how I got into fitness, oddly enough.
Right.
I'm a master fitness coach. I have 6 certifications in fitness, internationally recognized. And what made me get into fitness was, again, women don't understand that men are visual.
100%.
And I have my background in real estate started with marketing and sales, and so it's like, what product on earth people spend more on the marketing than in the packaging than they do the actual product in most industries,
Yeah.
because you want the people to be attracted to, they want to try your product. It's like you could have the best product in the world, but if that packaging is janky, I don't think I want to pick it. It's like the whole dented can thing. If you're in the store and you have two of the same item, one of the cans is dented and the other can is not, you're going to pick the can that looks better.
Right.
Why not? If I can have it, they cost the same, it's the same product, supposed to be, I'm going to take the one with the better can. And another thing, when a product outnumbers the consumer has the advantage.
Right.
Women significantly outnumber men. So men are the consumer and we're the product. So we do have to be competitive enough to make the consumer want to take us off the shelf. So if we're not getting picked up from the shelf, maybe we got some dents in our can we need to iron out.
Right.
And
I
it
love
is the
that.
standard. We
Yeah.
want a man who has built himself up to do all of these things. We want a man that's got his own home, a nice car, who has little to no children, or at least no baby mama drama, who
Make
looks
six
good, who
figures
takes
now.
care of them.
Make six figures. That's like the minimum now.
Exactly. And that's 10% or less of people.
Right.
So you got 90% of people competing for 10% of people. And this 90% already far outnumbers this 10%. Heck yeah, he's got the advantage.
And he got a lot of options now.
Exactly. So it's like, why would someone who has spent their life building themselves up want to settle for McDonald's when he can have 5-star?
Yeah.
And a lot of us, lady, a lot of us are McDonald's compared to, what we're competing against.
Right.
And all of us think we're tens and we're not. And the thing is, the people that determine the rating are the people that are choosing. It's like, would you go to a store and it's like, hey, Will, I know you want a Bentley, but check out this Toyota. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, but I'm really not interested in this Toyota. Oh, you think because you're a millionaire, you're too good for a Toyota? Yeah. Actually, it's like I've actually had a Toyota. I wasn't impressed with the performance of said Toyota, so I want to see, now that I'm able to get this Bentley, what this Bentley is talking about. I want
Right.
let me see. And so we got all the Toyotas, and nothing against Toyota itself. I'm just using this as a class
Sure,
brand for
sure.
cars, because
Yeah.
people get triggered. What you mean?
Just
So
an
that
analogy,
whole
folks.
I have to say so many disclaimer statements. It's annoying. So anywho, but yeah, so it's like that. It's like, hey, if I could have better, what kind of person are you to want to force me to be better? I
Right.
mean, to not strive for better. You're a bad person for that. Because if the
Yeah.
shoe were on the other foot, you'll be on the first thing out of here, trying to go to the Bentley dealership too.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. That's how we have to look at men. We can't be offended if a man is not interested in us,
Yeah.
and we're clearly not one of his better options.
Yeah. And we talk with Margo L. Today's topic is why femininity is important. And for most men, and I include myself in that, when I worked, let's say, for instance, at a hospital, and I remember there was a couple of female workers that were in housekeeping, and I found them very attractive. Unfortunately, they were just too young for me.
Mhm.
And for most men, we don't care what a woman does, to be honest with you, in terms of income or whatever. That does, I know for me personally, let me just talk about myself. It never mattered. I never cared about that. I would date a McDonald's worker versus a Fortune 500. I wouldn't care less what they do. And when men talk about that to some women, oh, again, you're insecure, you're looking for someone that doesn't have any money, you want to control them. Again, it's all these triggering words. Has femininity lost its way? I know I'm repeating the question, but
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
can it be gotten back?
absolutely. Speaking from experience, I had to do it. I've had a very advantageous career. I
Right.
have. And my husband, the reason I had this career is because of him.
Yeah.
He encouraged me. He supported me. Everything I wanted to do, he was never like, he never felt threatened by it. He was like, okay, let's make it happen. But the thing is this, you have to fall under his program. If my husband would have said, no, I would like you to do something else, I would have done that,
Right.
because he is what matters most. Because a job can be here today and gone tomorrow, and then you're
Yes.
left with nothing. But that home foundation and that life you built with somebody, that is what's lasting. That is what matters. And another thing is, that is a masculine striving, and ambition is actually a masculine trait. You have
Yeah.
to kick into your masculine energy to push through and strive and those things. Naturally feminine women or feminine people, ambition is something you have to kick into. It's not a natural state. It is a natural state for men. Men are always, the fight or flight thing.
Yeah.
We are more centered and more emotional and trying to navigate through, and you all are more results oriented. So that's how
Yeah.
men and women. So any career advancement is actually a very masculine trait in general when you're striving, and when it becomes the first thing and the focus of that. And men don't care about women. That's why a lot of times you'll see that you end up being cheated on with a lesser woman.
Right.
Every single time that I've ever been in a situation where I was not chosen, it was always for a lesser woman.
Mm.
And by lesser, I mean a woman who did not have the achievements or the accomplishments or those types of earthly, tangible things everybody puts value on. That type of lesser one. That's what I mean. Not that she's a lesser person, but someone who
Right.
didn't have as much to show for her life, if that makes sense. Men don't care about that because there's a
Right.
philosophy. Men want to be needed.
Yeah.
Women need to be wanted.
Mm.
That's how that works. We need to be wanted. We want to feel desired. Men need to be needed. The moment a man feels you don't need him for something, you've lost him. And so when
Mm.
we're constantly telling me we don't need you, we don't need you. Okay, fine. You don't need me, and I don't need you either. And better yet, I don't want you. So that's where we get triggered. Because
Yeah.
when we're told we're not wanted, we're undesirable, we don't fit this mold. Oh, then we start doing this whole, we start attacking and guilting and unshaming and everything like that. We
Yeah.
use sign language, shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right.
Yeah, no,
That's where that.
100%. Yeah, I like, again, I've seen that on different interviews and all that.
Yes.
Well, first of all, Margo, I could talk to you for another 10 hours. I mean, my
Yep.
God. And before I let you go, just a couple of more things. So talk more about your, you had some any speaking engagements coming up, or if somebody wanted to book you for speaking, because you have a very interesting story to talk about, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. You can actually visit my website, completepackagecoaching.com, and I'm available to come to your event for speaking. I do one-on-one and group coaching for relationships, marriages, also women who are looking to gain husbands, looking to see what it takes to be a wife. If you would like an audit of certain things that you're doing, even with career advancement, because femininity goes outside of the relationship. It's a way of life. And you
Right.
may be struggling in your career because of a lack of femininity as well. So I do offer that. Also, fitness and image consulting is something else that I do because that is very important as men are
Where do you
visual.
find the time?
You know what's interesting is we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just how
Yeah.
we
How you
allocate them.
manage it? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is. And I love what I do. So it doesn't really feel like work. My goal is to get the community back to a place where the family is more important again.
Right.
Because communities cannot thrive without unity. And if there's so many chiefs and no Indians, everybody's a boss. But if you're the only one, you're not a boss. You have to, you have to be over other people. So it's one of those things with, again, the words and everything. But yeah, my goal is just to get every person that I serve better results in life.
No, that's great. And talk about your YouTube channel. I know you have a YouTube channel.
I do. And it's interesting. My YouTube channel is mostly fragrance reviews. It's Margarita the Perfumista.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of reviews because femininity also comes with sensuality. And the number
Right.
one thing tied to memory is scent, is a sense of smell. You can smell something from years ago and instantly be taken back to a place in your childhood, good or bad. And so I talk about the science of scent and
Okay.
how that plays a role in life, and also just cool reviews and new things to check out. I also talk about fitness on my channel, different tips for that, and also a little bit of femininity pearls as well. But the best way to get what you need is to get one-on-one coaching for your situation specifically, because information is general that you find online. When you get
Right.
someone that actually dives down into your issue, it really helps to correct it, improve it, and you'll be a happier person for it.
No, sounds good. And tell us that website one more time.
Yes, completepackagecoaching.com.
No, sounds good. Well, again, Margo, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really, really appreciate it.
Will, it was an absolute pleasure. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Definitely. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.